So today we're looking at My Immortal by Evanescence. They just released a remastered version of this album 20 years after it was first released in 2003. So I thought it'd be a good time to go through the lyrics and the video and see what we can understand from the song and the words. I'm mostly focusing on what I can tell from what the words say rather than what the artist has already said about the song. So Ben Moody and Amy Lee and the rest of Evanescence. So this is purely an impression based, though I'm very familiar with the band. I really love them. Also, just by way of introduction, my name is Marios. I am a counselling psychology doctoral student living in London. And on this channel, we talk about psychology, but also some pop culture stuff and anything else that I think might be interesting, hopefully like this. So let's get into it. So I guess the first thing we notice about the video is that it's in black and white. And the other thing I'm noticing is these bandages or tourniquets. So there are, what you'd put on wounds. They're also white, which I think plays into this theme of black and white, supposed to signify someone who's passed, a ghost of some sort. Also a theme throughout the music video is that Amy Lee doesn't ever touch the ground, which is supposed to symbolize a ghost, again, someone who's passed.
I'm so tired of being here.
So Ben Moody, also without shoes. I'm wondering, this is like it's quite a bare image, right? It's kind of strange as well to see people without shoes, maybe in that kind of setting, playing the piano, which he's just about to do. Maybe the rawness of the situation, what has happened to go through this kind of a loss. I'm also noticing the movements are extremely slow. Everything is moving in a really slow pace, and I think that shows the mournful and drawn out, the distress really that comes with this kind of a loss.
These wounds won't seem to heal.
These wounds won't seem to heal, this pain is just too real. Makes me think of the old wisdom around time heals all wounds, which is, I guess, a wisdom that someone would say if they'd gone through heartbreak or an intense loss of some sort, such as losing someone, and they say, you know what, it may never get completely healed, but it gets better over time. And someone who's going through something like this in the first instance is usually not going to really enjoy hearing that. Like if you've just gone through that kind of intense emotion of heartbreak and loss, you're not going to want to hear, even though it is true, and you'll probably learn that it's true, that time does make things better and it does heal. Not that it promises to heal entirely, but the song kind of reflects there's just too much that time cannot erase, which to me says, in the current state, in the current way that the song is being presented, that belief around time being a healer is not something that can be felt. It's not something that can be believed in that moment. And yeah, and that's just follows from these wounds won't seem to heal. This pain is just too real, which to me reminds me of how certain types of pain are actually so similar to physical pain, especially social rejection, heartbreak, and mourning, that they can feel like physical damage, like you've actually taken a beating, like your body is actually being broken down in some way. And this is reflected in the lyrics. This pain is just too real. It's too real. It feels beyond an emotion. It feels like real pain, physical pain, even though I'm not sure that there's like a huge distinction between the two, which is kind of what they're exploring here. But they're saying explicitly, these wounds won't seem to heal. So that's just the time element again. It doesn't matter how long I give myself to get over this, it doesn't seem to be getting better. And then there's the pain is just too real. It doesn't matter how long I give it, it's still, the pain is too real to bear. And then finishing that off with saying, there's just too much that time cannot erase. So even though I may have an inkling or an insight that time is going to heal or make things better, it's just too much. I don't believe that right now. I don't think that that's going to solve this. This feels way too much for that. So it starts with, I'm so tired of being here, suppressed by all my childish fears. So I get this sense of stuckness. I'm tired of being here. I recognize where I am. I know that I've been here for a long time. I cannot get over this feeling, this mournful feeling, this feeling of loss, this stuckness. Suppressed by all my childish fears. So I get a sense of, well, maybe judgment. Not everything that's labeled childish is an adult necessarily judging themselves, because some feelings are actually childish, and that's okay that they are. We all have an inner child in us. I get the feeling that this is meant to feel judgmental in some way, suppressed by all my childish fears. Like I cannot break through these feelings because of my childish fears. And I wonder what those childish fears are. Is perhaps that there is no way to get out of this, that I cannot heal myself. I'm not mature enough to be my own guide, to be my own parent, or to kind of improve my life in a way that's going to help me heal from this tragedy that I've endured. And if you have to leave, I wish that you would just leave. So here, I think what the meaning is, if the loss is going to happen, that it feels better to know that you're just going to go ahead and do it. There's maybe this feeling of lingering, like, I know that you're going to go, or I know I'm going to be hit by this pang of loss and mournfulness, but I'd rather you just get it over and done with. I'd rather you just leave. I'd rather you go, because I want to start the process of healing. It's kind of like waiting for someone to hit you. You know it's going to happen and you can't do nothing about it, and you're just waiting for someone to hit you, so it's over and done with. It's the waiting for someone to hit you is the hardest part, because you just don't know when it's going to happen, and you know it's going to hurt, but you don't know how much, and you just rather it's over and done with so you can just start healing, getting over it. Because your presence still lingers here, and it won't leave me alone. And it won't leave me alone. There's almost this pestering, like it's constantly asking for your attention. It won't leave me alone. There's presence, something can be present for you without being distracting or being overwhelming. But this is saying not only is your presence still lingering, it's still hanging around in me, in my life, and it just won't leave me alone. It's like there is this insistence, like it's intruding almost in your life. Like you cannot just be with what is anymore, or what else is in your life. This presence of yours continues to come back to me. When you cried, I'd wipe away all of your tears. So to me, this just says, I feel like I have given you this loyalty and this attention to be attentive, to be there with you when you are struggling, when you're crying, when you have these tears. So I'd wipe them away. I'd do what I can to be there for you and to make it better, to try and help you. I've been there for you. So it's kind of going back to the tenderness that was there before this relationship ended, such as by the loss, such as through the death of this person, friend or lover. When you scream, I'd fight away all of your fears. So to me, this is a little bit more of an active. It's like, wiping tears feels quite like a forlorn kind of feeling, like a sad feeling, but bringing tenderness into that interaction. It feels more active. It feels like I will fight for you. I will go to war for you. If your fears appear in your life and you cannot stand them or you want help, I will be there to fight them with you or even for you. And also this sense of being willing to sacrifice for this person. Just going back to the video again, there's Amy Lee lying down a lot, and a lot of, again, slow gliding movements, I think, to represent this post-death. And I wonder, really, is this coming from the perspective of the person who survived or the person who has died? If it's to be taken literally from the video, it seems like the person who died is singing this. But that's interesting, because we often think about the people who continue to live to be the ones who suffer. But if you do believe in life after death, it would make sense that the person who has died is also going through this experience of mourning, also going through their own kind of processing of what's happened. If you were going to take the video literally, I would take that view. But I'm also noticing the views within, like, the cinematic angles. It's very much looking down. I think this is shot in an old section of Barcelona, and I think that gives the sense how old and enduring mourning can feel like. And it's such a, it's an ancient, primal human feeling. So I think that is reflected in the way it's kind of just viewing down, viewing the scenery, looking a bird's eye view, and also in these older parts of town, reflecting how deep and old this feeling is. Yeah, and also this shot of Amy Lee in the tree hugging her knees. It seems, incredibly sad, mournful, alone. It feels like everyone in this video is isolated. They don't seem to interact with each other much. I think that happens later when the band is playing, but not Amy, who's maybe, it could be considered the protagonist here. You used to captivate me by your resonating light. So to me, this says your light, if you say someone has a light, there's association with a greatness, purity, like iridescence, being like a very positive influence or presence in your life. So your light, your resonating light. Also, an interesting thing I looked up just before this is light can result in resonance, which, not physicist or anything, but it seems to mean that light can result in reverberation, so like a change in frequency when it bounces off something else, a resonance, such as with sound. If sound hits your body, it can cause movement, that vibration, but light can also cause that with enough energy. So I guess there's this sense that the light is so much that it causes this vibration, this increase in energy from just being exposed to it. That might be going a bit too deep into the analysis, but still, I thought it was interesting.
Now I'm bound by the light.
Yeah, this is powerful. Now I'm bound by the life you left behind. Bound, like I'm restricted, I'm tied down by the life you left behind. It gives me the feeling of maybe a little bit of blame. They're saying, you left it, you left me here, you left your life here with me. I'm the one who has to deal with the fact that your life has ended. And now that's my memory. That's the thing I live with. You left it behind. You weren't forced to leave it. Maybe it could have been worded in a way, the life you had to leave behind, rather than the life you left behind. So yeah, I do get that feeling maybe of just feeling hard done by, like feeling like, how could you? And that is actually a quite common element or stage of mourning, is that you're like, how could you leave me? This blame, but it's just all part of the process of really going through mourning and loss and feeling like I'm bound. It's like, I'm not going to be the same again. My ability to be free and move around in the world has been restricted by the life you left behind because I'm bound by it.
Your face it haunts.
Your face, it haunts my once pleasant dreams. So maybe the dreams with this person used to be the positive, you know, the wonderful dreams, but now that face, that same face haunts the dreams. It's because it's that shift in meaning. If you lose someone, then suddenly the emotions evoked by memories of them are at least tinged with negativity because it is over. There is a, well, that's never coming back. I'm never going to be able to build on those feelings or touch that person again or just be with that person again. So there is this idea that now suddenly your face has tainted my dreams and maybe even my memories of you.
Your voice it chased away.
Your voice, it chased away all the sanity in me. I think it speaks to how love can influence our ability to stay sane and how it can change really our perspective in a way that we almost lose control, but in a way that it feels good. It feels good to be in the insanity of love. And I think the song is just reflecting on the voice being a catalyst to that, a channel into that loss of sanity when you love someone that much. I've tried so hard to tell myself that you're gone. So I think this speaks to, again, that element of time. Like I've tried again and again to tell myself that you're gone, to accept it, to process it, to tell myself the hard truths that there is no going back, that the end has come and it's over, and actually some time has passed since the end. But I keep telling myself, you are gone, but it's not enough. It's not enough to get over the mourning, to get over the hurt and the pain of losing someone. But though you're still with me, I've been alone all along. But though you're still with me, funny because it's kind of flips. It feels like you're still with me. Either it's saying this is a metaphorical loss. Maybe you're physically here, but I've lost you in some way. But maybe we used to be lovers, but we're not that anymore. Or you're with me, but things have changed so much so that I don't feel like you're with me, even though you're physically here. And then I've been alone all along is actually maybe some self-deceit. I fooled myself into thinking there was more there, or I convinced myself that everything was okay when it wasn't, and that's what led to this change or loss. But if we go back to that idea that this is about a literal loss, like somebody has died, then the meaning might be, but though you're still with me, meaning in spirit or in memory, though you're still with me in that way, I've been alone all along. I wonder if that means something like, maybe we are always alone. There's this idea that actually nothing will last forever. Our lives will not last forever. Other people's lives will not last forever. So were we ever not alone? We come into this world alone, we die alone. That's kind of how it works. So I wonder if this is that a reflection on that is knowing that as individuals, to some degree, we are always alone. And this loss of someone just really makes that point very clear to the person. Or perhaps that I've been alone all along. It's maybe this idea that we all have to own our own lives, right? I'm alone in that now that you're gone, I still have to move on with mine. I still have to continue to be the person that moves on and is able to continue living. Maybe going back to the beginning of this, suppressed by all my childish fears, this idea that I've always been alone in that if I don't take ownership, then nobody else will. And you've shown me that by leaving. So You know, overall, I do feel the song is not one of blame to the person who's left, but it's really trying to get to this, how do I process, how do I get through this, and how it's really flipped the person's ability to kind of appreciate that they are depending on others and that they have done that, but actually that they are always alone. We are all alone, and we do have to live with the consequences of people passing and leaving our lives in some way or another. And it kind of feels like, well, I don't want to do that. It doesn't feel right. And you just left me. But I'm also held back by my own feelings about this. It's tough, right? Because blame almost doesn't have a place here, because you wouldn't blame someone for dying, of course, if that's what this means. But you would hope that you wouldn't blame yourself for not being able to get through it quickly enough. So I think this song is trying to capture that spectrum of, how do I deal with this? I can't believe the depth of this loss. I can't believe the depth of these feelings. And I don't know if time is going to heal them. But also, I don't know what my role is in this anymore. Like, I am alone, but I'm stuck with this impression of you, the voices and the memories of you. But I'm the only one who needs to deal with it now. I'm the only one who lives with it. And I'm not sure quite how to do that. So that was my impression of my Immortal. As I said, I really love this band, so I'm sure I could talk about this a lot more, but I'd be really interested to hear what other people think. If you disagree or agree with any parts of this, leave it in the comments. And obviously subscribe and like, I have to say it, obviously. So see you in the next one.